Let's bring in Balpreet Singh, legal counsel spokesperson for the World Sikh Organization. Balpreet, good to see you. Appreciate your time. Your thoughts on what's going on here?
I think it's a lot of drama, to be honest. India is known for its irrational responses to these sort of things. The last time Canada refused to stop a referendum on the question of Khalistan here in Toronto, India issued a travel advisory saying that Canada was no longer safe for Indian nationals. So now we see these protests, which are, if anyone's familiar with South Asia and particularly India, they'll know that you can buy these sort of mob protesters for just a few dollars a day. So, I mean, the protests don't really mean much except for optics.
Balpreet, what do you make of what Justin Trudeau said?
I think Justin Trudeau's statement was very, very welcome in our community. It wasn't a shock to us. We've known for years that India has done espionage and infiltration in our community. But for Canadians to find out, that's significant because there's been a lot of gaslighting. People, have this image of India as the world's largest democracy. What they don't know is that India has been trending towards authoritarianism for many years now. There is a right-wing Hindutva government there that is imposing a Hindu identity and the Hindi language on all residents. And even in the Press Freedoms Index, they're 161 out of 180 countries. That's below Afghanistan. So things are very bleak for minorities in India right now.
Balpreet, what about this idea of Indian intelligence operatives operating in Canada?
This is an open secret. In fact, in the 80s, a lot of these agents actually went back to India and wrote books about their activities in the Sikh community. They wrote about how they infiltrated Sikh places of worship, how they bought media outlets, how they bought moles, and that's never stopped. In fact, the funding has increased. So I was actually quite pleased to see a report today about a report by the ICOP about an Indian, not one, but multiple Indian spy networks targeting Sikhs in Vancouver. So these sort of things are going to continue to come out, and I think we're looking at the tip of the iceberg. But Indian interference in Canada is a very, very prolific topic, and it goes back, like I said, decades.
You're very familiar with this issue, but a lot of people in our country are just, hearing about this sort of thing for the first time. Can you explain to us, from your perspective anyway, why this man would have been targeted potentially by India?
So Hardeep Singh Nijjar was the president of the largest Sikh Gurdwara in Canada. And he was also a very vocal supporter of Khalistan. So Khalistan is a sovereign Sikh state. Sikhs had an empire in Punjab until 1849. The British annexed that empire in 1849, and when they left in 1947, they created two bodies, Pakistan and India. And Punjab was split between those two countries, leaving the Sikhs with no homeland. So many Sikhs would like to see a country where they can live freely. And he was very vocal about this. And anyone that talks about Khalistan is a target for India. They harass people's families. Thousands of Sikhs lost their lives in the 80s and 90s in extrajudicial killings. And Hardeep Singh Nijjar knew that he was a target. He spoke about the fact that he was basically at threat even hours before he was shot dead. In fact, he was the third prominent Khalistan leader to lose his life in the weeks from April to June. So it was kind of understood that India was actively targeting Sikh activists.
And India accusing him of being a separatist, of being a terrorist.
He was actually accused of running a terror training camp in Hope, BC in 2016. They used this footage of people at a gun range. The mayor of Hope actually came out at that time and said that these allegations are ridiculous. So, I mean, if there was anything that he had done that was criminal, then Canada would have pressed charges. He would have been tried. But he was basically called a terrorist by India, and there was a bounty placed on his head of 1 million rupees. And there was open talk about targeting him. And finally, he lost his life. And now, obviously, the Prime Minister of Canada does not get up in the House of Commons and make these allegations without very solid proof. But when this assassination took place, our community knew what had happened.
It was pretty stunning to hear Justin Trudeau get up and say that. And you perhaps were not surprised, although, the implications here are very serious. What do you think is going to happen now?
I think that there are multiple investigations going on. And this, like I said, is the tip of the iceberg. There have been very serious incidents that have taken place in the Sikh community that are attributed to Indian espionage and intelligence. And I think over the next few weeks and months, as these investigations continue, Canadians are going to be shocked by the revelations that come forward. Canada is a sovereign country, and India has no business conducting interference here. But a targeted killing, that's well beyond the pale of what we've seen from countries even like China and Russia.
Balpreet Singh joining us with the World Sikh Organization of Canada. Thank you for taking time for CTV on this story.
Thank you for having me.